Behold, Timmy, life, real life, a thing that we have been denied for far too long.
Welcome to the desert of the real
Life! English! Do you speak it?
Hey, welcome to Real Life English's blog article podcasts. Today's article is Top 5 Mispronunciations Made by Brazilians. That's right, we're talking to you, Brazilians. Have you ever been misunderstood when speaking to someone in another language because of your pronunciation? But then, when they tell you how to pronounce it correctly, it sounds exactly like how you just said it. What the fuck? A good example of this is when one day I walked up to a woman on the street selling ice cream and said, "Uma cosquinha, por favor?" The young street vendor had a puzzled look on her face until I realized that I had said the wrong thing. Cosquinha instead of casquinha. The difference in Portuguese would be, can I have a tickle instead of an ice cream? Today we're going to go through the 5 most common mispronunciations Brazilians have when speaking English. ED with regular verbs. When we conjugate regular verbs in English, we use the ED suffix. Play becomes played. Stop becomes stopped, etc. The thing you should know about this though is that when we add the ED suffix to the verb, in most cases it doesn't change the amount of syllables in the word. For example, play has 1 syllable, play. When we add the ED, it still remains 1 syllable. Play becomes played, played, played. A regular verb will only take on another syllable when it finishes in a T or a D sound. Remember, it's the sound, not the actual letter. A good example of this is decide, decide. Although the last letter in decide is an E, we don't actually pronounce it. So it finishes with the last consonant, which is the D sound. This would be pronounced decided, 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 decided. The rest of the verbs take on either a D or a T sound. Words that end with the letters CH, SH, K, S, P, or F, they carry a T sound when they're conjugated. An example would be the word watch. Watch. Watch finishes with the CH. Therefore, it takes on a T sound, the T sound. T, T. Watch becomes watched. Watched. I watched a movie last night. The same goes for walk. Walk ends in a K sound. Walk conjugated becomes walked, walked. It still has that T sound, not an ed sound. Again, laugh, laugh. Although laugh ends in a GH, it has an F sound. It carries that F, laugh. Therefore, laugh becomes laughed. Or in American English, laughed. I laughed. I laughed a lot at the clown. The rest of the verbs have a subtle D sound at the end, like play. Play is not pronounced played. It continues to have just the 1 syllable like I explained earlier. So played remains played, played, a single D sound. The dreaded TH. Most of my Brazilian students get very frustrated and embarrassed when they have to say words like 33. Also when using ordinal numbers like the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, but that's normal. Have you heard a gringo trying to say the word orelhão? Orelhão? Am I saying that correctly? I don't know. Orelhão? We share your pain. But before I tell you how to say the word out loud, I want you to hear and visualize the word in your head. Let's think about ex-president Lula. Think about his lisp, the way he speaks, how he used to address the people. Povo brasileiro, Brasileiro. He has this th sound. Povo brasileiro. There are two ways to pronounce the th sound. The first one is what we call unvoiced th. This is the th sound in words like three, mouth, think. To make this sound, we have to touch our tongue with our top row of teeth and slowly blow air out of our mouth. It sounds like this. We then quickly retract our tongue to pronounce the rest of the word. For example, three, three. When we say the R, three, our tongue retracts into the back of our mouth again. Three, another, mouth. Obviously when the th is at the end of the word, that's not necessary. The second way is what we call the voiced th sound. This is the one where people have most difficulty. We say voice because it is pronounced with a small vibrating sound. Think of the words like them, those, the. To make this sound, we do the same thing with our tongue. Touch it with the top row of teeth. But this time you're going to gently vibrate your tongue at the same time. It's that vibration that gives it the correct sound. I know it sounds really strange and unnecessary, but just this small difference can really improve your pronunciation. But I must warn you to be careful when speaking to people, because there's a high chance that you will accidentally spit while saying this. You know what I'm talking about? And never try to emphasize this sound and start using it with other words, or you're going to sound like Daffy Duck, Thuckerin' Thuckatath, or something like that. The next one, adding an E to the end of words. Another problem Brazilians tend to have is putting an E sound at the end of words. I would like to have a drinky, please. Okay, so maybe I'm exaggerating a little, but I often hear this especially with words that end in the letter E. The best advice I can give you is when you say a word that ends with an E, for example, the word like, make, take, etc. We never pronounce the E sound at the end of the word. We always finish the word with the sound of the last consonant. For example, like ends in the K sound. We don't pronounce the E. Like. I think this habit is due to the fact that a lot of Portuguese words finish with a vowel. So this problem is also common with other words that end in a consonant. For example, big. Some people often have this tendency to say biggie, biggie, not biggie. Remember to finish it with the consonant. Big, big. Want, not wanty, wantchy. Want, t. Finish with the T sound. Want. This can be really confusing with verbs that become an adjective with Y. Many Portuguese speakers tend to confuse words like fun and funny, or mess and messy. One of my students was telling me about a party he went to, and he told me how funny it was. When I asked him why the party was so funny, he just said because all of his friends were there. Then I understood he meant to say the party was very fun, not funny, fun. And the next one is differentiating the sounds CH, ch, SH, sh, and T, t. This is a very important one for me. Since moving to Brazil, I've come to terms with the fact that my name is no longer Chad. I've embraced my new name as Shadji. So not Chad, people here tend to call me Shadji. So this one's a little difficult to explain. Let me just explain the CH is always a ch sound. Ch, ch. Okay, SH, sh, sh. And the T is a quicker sound, t, t, t. And last but not least is H versus R. H versus R. This, in my opinion, is the second biggest problem with Portuguese pronunciation after the TH sound. The Portuguese R has the same sound as the English H. For example, does anybody out there like listening to happy music? Wait, what's happy music? Oh, you mean rap music. Rap music. So to explain the R sound, I want all of you to do a little experiment. You find a dog guarding his bone. Sure, he looks like he's asleep, but don't get too close to that bone or you're going to hear the perfect growling sound. This sound is so different to the H sound. The H in English is usually just a breath of air, and we stress the following vowel. An H is generally always followed by a vowel. So think about words like honey, honey, or even happy, happy. The H is actually just a sound. It's just air coming out of my mouth. Honey, happy. But we also have the silent H in words like honest, honest, and honor, honor. But in English, remember, we never have that strong throat sound, which is quite common in Portuguese. The sound I'm referring to is the honey, honey, happy, ho. That sound doesn't even exist in English. We don't use that ever. Okay? So that concludes today's pronunciation lesson. The last piece of advice I'm going to give you is another method of practicing your pronunciation. This is to imitate. Imitating people speaking English. Okay? When watching movies or TV, take some time to pay close attention to how the actors are speaking. Try to copy what they're saying and how they're saying it. Simple pronunciation exercise you can do with every movie, song, or any kind of media you enjoy. So I hope you have enjoyed this blog article podcast. There'll be more to come very soon. If you found this helpful, we would greatly appreciate your feedback, your participation, likes, sharing, and telling your friends about us. If you haven't already, join the free and open Real Life English Facebook community and join our mailing list. And of course, we hope to see you at our next Real Life English event for everyone who lives in the great city of Belo Horizonte. Thank you all, and we'll speak to you soon.
I get a good feeling, 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 yeah.